In today's video, you will be taken inside the walls of one of the most feared prisons in the United States, which is now the new home of rapper P. Diddy. Inside, sources reveal that he lives in extreme isolation, in a dark and cramped cell, crying constantly, refusing food, and sinking into a state of despair and depression. In this video, you will see, in chilling detail, the precarious conditions of his cell, the oppression of solitary confinement, the dark corridors where echoes of threats never dissipate, and the places where he struggles to survive day after day. If you like exploring the darkest secrets and discovering what really happens in the world, subscribe to the channel to receive more videos like this. The arrest is as follows: reception and sorting area. The prison reception is the first point of contact new inmates have with the prison system. It is a large, functional space designed to maximize prisoner entry efficiency while maintaining a strict level of security. Once they arrive, prisoners go through a line for initial screening. The room is lit by cool fluorescent lights that give the room an impersonal and clinical feel. The walls are made of light gray concrete, undecorated except for signs with rules and warnings. Large security cameras are strategically positioned in the corners of the ceiling, capturing every movement. Prisoners are instructed to stand on markings on the floor, as they are called, one by one, to provide personal information. This process includes taking fingerprints, photographs, and removing any belongings that are not permitted. Each object is catalogued and stored in sealed bags with identification labels. The detainees then undergo a body search. This procedure takes place in a separate room where privacy is minimal, and guards monitor each step to ensure that nothing illicit enters the prison. The clothes they wore upon arrival are replaced with standard prison uniforms, usually colors such as orange or gray, depending on the prison system. These uniforms are delivered in packages, along with a basic kit that contains items such as a toothbrush, soap, and plastic utensils. The tension in the environment is palpable. Many prisoners wear expressions of nervousness or resignation as they wait for their next move. Armed guards are stationed throughout the area, monitoring the queues and leading the process with authority. Everything at reception is meticulously documented, ensuring that each prisoner is properly registered before being sent to their cells. This area symbolizes the beginning of a new reality for inmates, marking the transition to a life where every movement will be controlled and monitored. Single cell. P. Diddy's confinement. The single cell where P. Diddy is confined is not just a physical space, but a reflection of the isolation imposed on someone considered extremely dangerous. Because of his notoriety and the accusations surrounding him, Diddy was placed in solitary confinement as a safety measure, both to protect him and the other inmates. His public reputation, combined with the mysteries and theories that surround him, make him a prisoner who demands special attention. Upon entering the hallway that leads to Diddy's cell, the atmosphere becomes darker. Extra guards are always present, monitoring every movement, and the silence in the place is oppressive, broken only by the echo of heavy boots and the sound of steel doors locking behind each step. His cell is noticeably more isolated than the others, strategically positioned in a wing where monitoring is constant. The space is tiny, with solid concrete walls that seem to absorb any sound, making the environment even more lonely. The bars at the front of the cell are reinforced, a clear sign that safety here is a top priority. At the top of the entrance, there is a small surveillance camera that records every second, ensuring there are no gaps for anything unexpected. The bed, made of raw metal with a thin, worn mattress, appears undersized to someone used to the luxury Diddy experienced outside. Next door, a cold steel sink and a minimalist toilet complete the bleak scene. There is no place to hide secrets. Every corner of the cell was designed to be functional and sterile. A tiny window high up on the wall lets in a stream of light, but the view it offers is practically non-existent. At night, this light is replaced by the dim lighting of the lamp protected in the ceiling, which is never completely turned off. This constant control is essential as the guards fear that Diddy, under pressure from isolation and the exposure of his secrets, might try something drastic, either against himself or against the system that now keeps him imprisoned. There are also rumors that the isolation was implemented not only for his physical safety, but to ensure that he has no contact with other inmates who might try to extract information about the secrets he allegedly keeps. The cell thus becomes not only a form of punishment, but also a living vault for secrets that many fear should never be revealed. Diddy's isolation, justified as a security measure, is in practice a confinement designed to test him emotionally and psychologically. Each day in the cell is a brutal reminder of his fall from the top, as he struggles to maintain his sanity in a space that seems destined to break even the strongest. Collective bathing area, the communal shower area, is one of the most uncomfortable and intimidating parts of the prison, even for a high-profile prisoner like P. Diddy. In his case, the use of this space is surrounded by precautions. Guards closely monitor each movement to ensure that his safety is not compromised and that he follows the strict rules of the place. The environment is cold, both in temperature and atmosphere. The concrete walls are damp, with dark marks of mold accumulated over the years. Showers are arranged in rows, with minimal separations, offering almost no privacy. For a prisoner accustomed to a luxurious lifestyle, this reality comes as a brutal shock. There is no marble, fluffy towels, or guaranteed hot water. Here the flow of water is controlled, and it often comes out in short, irregular jets, making even the basic task of cleaning properly difficult. The floor, made of old, slippery tiles, is stained and smells of strong cleaning products, mixed with the characteristic odor of damp and the enclosed space itself. On the ceiling, ventilation grills barely work, creating a claustrophobic feeling. Bathing times are controlled and limited, with prisoners forced to queue before entering. Guards watch from elevated platforms or strategic cameras to monitor the area, as this is where conflicts between inmates often occur. For Diddy, the risk is even greater. His mix of fame and controversy makes him a potential target. Therefore, he has access to alternative times to use the space, ensuring that he is isolated from other prisoners during these times. Despite this, the feeling of vulnerability is inevitable. Without the bars that delimit a cell, the open space of the bathroom is almost a cruel reminder of its exposure. Every step echoes, and the water from the showers mixes with the distant sounds of voices in the hallways. The shower, which should be a moment of relief, becomes another part of the day in which the weight of prison becomes even more evident. For Diddy, this experience is more than a reality check. It's a raw demonstration of how his fame and influence have been reduced to nothing within these walls. He is no longer a star surrounded by luxury and privilege, but rather a number among many, subjected to the same degrading routine that defines prison life. Dining hall. The cafeteria is one of the most intimidating and unpredictable spaces in the prison. For P. Diddy, the experience of eating in such an impersonal and potentially hostile location contrasts sharply with the lavish banquets and privacy he once enjoyed. Here, everyone is treated the same, as prisoners. Upon entering the cafeteria, the first thing you notice is the noise, the metallic sound of trays sliding across the counters, muffled conversations, and occasionally shouts or arguments echo in the room. Armed guards are strategically placed, watching every movement with watchful eyes. The room is large but suffocating, with low ceilings and cold lighting that enhances the bleak tone of the space. The tables are long and made of metal to maximize the number of prisoners who can eat at the same time. Fixed benches are lined up next to the tables, And there is no option for privacy. Everyone eats side by side, which for Diddy represents a constant risk. He is an obvious target due to his fame, and any wrong interaction could result in conflict or, worse, planned attacks. The food is basic and functional, served on sturdy plastic trays. The menu rarely varies, a combination of canned and processed foods with controlled portions that barely meet the inmates' nutritional needs. For Diddy, accustomed to gourmet meals, the food here is yet another reminder of the gulf between his former life and his current one. The serving process is rigid. Prisoners must walk in single file, collect their food quickly, and proceed to their designated tables. Prolonged conversations, standing out of place, or any behavior outside of protocol may attract immediate reprimands from guards. For Diddy, this routine is fine-tuned. He is escorted separately to avoid direct confrontations and often has to eat at different times or in an isolated area in the cafeteria. The environment is dominated by veiled tensions. Fights over control of territories or simple resentments between inmates are common here. That's why the cafeteria is seen as one of the most dangerous places in the prison, where any misstep can quickly escalate to violence. Armed guards and surveillance cameras try to maintain control, but they are not always enough to prevent incidents. For Diddy, every meal is a testament to his vulnerability. He eats quickly, keeping an eye on his surroundings, always aware that his presence there is perceived differently. The cafeteria is not only a place to eat, but also a stage for demonstrating strength, a microcosm of survival in an environment that does not forgive weaknesses. External courtyard. The prison's outer courtyard is the only place where prisoners can experience a shred of freedom, but even this space is surrounded by tension and constant surveillance. For P. Diddy, the yard is both an opportunity and a danger. Here, he can breathe the fresh air and feel the sun on his skin, but he is also under the watchful eye of other inmates, many of whom see him as a controversial figure, a mix of fascination and threat. The courtyard is surrounded by high concrete walls, topped with barbed wire fences. Watchtowers rise in the corners, with armed guards watching your every move. The patio floor is a mix of packed earth and rough concrete, marked by years of use. There are specific areas for activities, such as a basketball court with rusty hoops, some bars for basic exercises, and designated spaces for walking. Prisoners are released into the yard at scheduled times and in controlled groups. The time allowed varies, but is generally short, just enough for a few minutes of exercise or socializing. Diddy, however, is rarely released with the others. Due to his notoriety and the risk this represents, he is often escorted to the courtyard at alternative times, accompanied by guards who guarantee his safety. The atmosphere in the courtyard is dense, filled with evaluating looks and subtle gestures of power. Groups form according to alliances, and any prisoner who walks alone, especially someone as high profile as Diddy, attracts attention. While some prisoners try to approach him, whether out of curiosity or interest in his fame, others keep their distance, recognizing the risks that an association can bring. The courtyard also serves as a stage for resolving disputes and consolidating hierarchies. For Diddy, the environment is a mix of constant vigilance and discomfort. He walks in circles, trying to maintain a neutral stance, but his status makes it impossible to go unnoticed. Every interaction, even the most casual, is carefully monitored by guards who know that a fight or confrontation could break out at any moment. Despite this, the courtyard offers something no other part of the prison can: a glimpse of the open sky. For many prisoners, this simple fact is a rare relief amid the oppression of confinement. Yet for Diddy, that sky represents a freedom far beyond his reach, a cruel reminder of everything he's lost. Visiting room. The prison visiting room is a space full of intense emotions, functioning as a bridge between two worlds, the internal, dark and controlled, and the external, which many prisoners have left behind. For P. Diddy, this room represents a rare moment of connection with the outside world, but also a stage for extreme surveillance and carefully limited interaction. Upon being escorted to the visiting room, Diddy passes through monitored corridors, surrounded by attentive guards. Every step is watched by watchful eyes, both for his safety and to ensure he doesn't violate any rules. Upon entering the room, the atmosphere is immediately different from the rest of the prison, but still far from welcoming. The room is lit by fluorescent lights, which make everything look pale and artificial. The walls are painted in neutral, weathered colors, while cameras in every corner ensure that no movement goes unnoticed. The tables are made of metal, fixed to the floor, with equally fixed chairs, forcing visitors and prisoners to sit facing each other, without the possibility of moving. In high-security prisons like this one, glass partitions often separate prisoners from their visitors, with communication carried out via landline telephones. For Diddy, the act of sitting at this table is a public exposure of his vulnerability. Visitors, whether family, friends or lawyers, must go through strict procedures before seeing you. Their interactions are restricted by time and supervised by guards who not only watch, but also listen to every word. The conversation, which should be a moment of reconnection, is interrupted by the constant buzzing of cameras and the distant noise of other prisoners. Visits are often emotional. While some people come to offer support, others, driven by curiosity or even questionable intentions, see Diddy as an enigma or a piece of a larger narrative. He, in turn, must balance trying to maintain his composure with the weight of the situation he finds himself in. Every word, every gesture can be interpreted or recorded, both by your visitors and by the system that watches you incessantly. The living room is also a place of latent tensions. Other prisoners often watch who comes to visit high-profile figures like Diddy, fueling rumors and suspicion. This exposure puts him once again in the spotlight, something he never sought within the prison walls, but which is inevitable due to his fame and history. When the visit ends, the exit process is equally meticulous. Guards escort Diddy back to his cell while the visitor is escorted out. For him, the return to confinement is a brutal reminder that the drawing room is just a temporary illusion of freedom, a glimpse of a life that is distant and, perhaps, unattainable. The isolation unit, better known as solitary, is the place where the psychological terrors of prison reach their peak. For P. Diddy, this cell is not just a punishment, but a mechanism to separate him from other inmates who see him as a target. Despite his fame and power outside of bars, inside prison, he is just another inmate, and an inmate who many believe deserves to be punished beyond the system. Diddy was placed in isolation for several reasons. Officers claim it is for his own safety, but rumors circulate that he has been a constant target of abuse. Other prisoners, resentful of his notoriety and the perceived privileges of a celebrity, allegedly organized to humiliate and threaten him. Reports suggest that he was the target of incessant verbal attacks during the rare moments he was in common areas, with other prisoners shouting insults, threats, and, on some occasions, throwing objects in his direction. The isolation cell is the opposite of protection. The tiny space is enveloped in an almost suffocating darkness. The only lighting comes from a small lamp on the ceiling, which flickers erratically, amplifying the feeling of despair. The concrete walls are stained with dark marks, and the air is heavy, with a musty, damp odor. The only sounds Diddy hears are the distant echoes of screams or the footsteps of guards passing in the hallway. The psychological isolation here is as cruel as the physical one. The cell has no visible windows, just a small opening in the reinforced door that guards use to deliver food. metal trays containing simple cold meals that appear to be little more than leftovers. There is no access to books or distractions. The objective is clear: to break the detainee's spirit. The abuse, however, did not stop even with solitary confinement. Guards, who are supposed to protect him, often contribute to the torment. There are reports that they deliberately leave his food late or offer smaller portions, mocking him as they deliver. Some guards were reportedly seen laughing at Diddy's suffering, treating him as an example that no one is above the system. The sounds of the prison become constant torture for him. Screams from other inmates echo through the hallways, often directed directly at him. "You deserve it, Diddy," or "Where's your money now?" are common phrases shouted in the silence of the night to make sure he knows he's not forgotten, but hated. Even in isolation, Diddy isn't completely safe. The prison system, known for its failure to contain information leaks, allowed its location and status to become common knowledge among prisoners. This has led to more elaborate threats, with rumors that some inmates are willing to pay or bribe guards so they can gain access to him. The isolation unit, for Diddy, is a hell that seems to have no end. Every minute is a test of mental endurance, a constant reminder that your life, once full of glamour and power, has been reduced to this cold, oppressive space where time has no meaning, and the only company is your own thoughts. And these often do not bring comfort, but rather despair.